gone, just absolutely vanished. Normally they would stay there, but now they seem to just disappear, which is a bit better than just standing there for like 10 minutes. So we are back in Prehistoric Kingdom. Hello everyone, welcome back to Prehistoric Kingdom. Said that twice, fantastic. We are building a new habitat in the game, and we're also doing a bit of, I would call it kind of tweaking a bit of the area, making things look a little bit nicer, and maybe adding a bit more colour in, because I did get a bit of a kick in for making things a little bit bland. But I like bland, I like things, I like bread and, you know, butter on its own, it's fine. So yeah, we're going to have a little crack at try and spruce things up here. So what you'll see in the beginning is a new pond that I built. I originally changed some of the pathwork as well, and I kind of, you'll see some seating area on the left hand side, but originally I moved that to the right hand side behind the pond. It's more to the top of it. You'll see it anyway, it'll make more sense here. And yeah, so I didn't want it to be too cluttered on that side. And when I made this pond as well, it was just trying to make something, again, very clean, very simple, you know, trying to have that kind of concrete area where you see this kind of concrete in, for instance, in central London, you'll see it, and it's a very kind of cold concrete that you see, and that was a style I wanted for the pond. But then I did add some colour in it a bit later, which you will see. Also, I wanted to add in some areas at the back where you can go and have a little bit of a snack and some food. This is just temporary stuff. I placed this here for me to have an idea of what I want to build properly there afterwards, and know that I've got the room there to build it when it comes to it. So I've got the area prepped, I've got some obviously buildings in there, but I know they're not usable by the game either, which does kind of kill a bit of the realistic vibe, I know that. But as long as I know I've got the room there to build maybe my own thing after, and later on maybe a few episodes down, I'll even probably do that off camera and show you that maybe another time. But it's there and it's ready to go, and it's left that space there. Now I also added in some plants as well, and you'll see me change the colour from like a yellow to an orangey colour, or like a bronzy kind of style. And I think I settled on the orange in the end, and then I sort of made the paths a little bit wider. So I wanted the paths to be more expanded for the guests to kind of have more of an option to walk instead of just walking in a straight line. They've got the option to kind of just kind of disperse around more often. And I got this idea because I started playing Jurassic World Evolution. Yeah, number two. I started playing number 2. Jesus. And yeah, so, and I was kind of realising that a lot of the open plazas are quite nice, and that you can kind of really build some nice plazas in that game, which, to let you know, I am going to drop an episode on Jurassic World Evolution, but we won't put that in this video because this is Prehistoric Kingdom, and we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, so I got kind of a little bit of idea from that, and I wanted to put that into this game and kind of give the guests that more space and more freedom around the park. And also, it was to, if you went from a bird's eye view, you would see kind of like how it kind of, the paths are more like pronounced when you're kind of looking into them, so you can see it's quite clearly where you can walk and where you can't kind of walk. Now, when I was building the flower pot in the middle, I kind of cut some of this footage out because it did take quite a long while for me to line this up, and I was really struggling. Again, this is what happens when you kind of do these videos at 2 in the morning or something ridiculous, when you're not really fully focused. But I did try my best. But so I won't bore you with it, and we go back to the pond. Again, you've already seen this, so you might get a little bit bored, but I'm just adding in some foliage here, making it look a little bit more life in it, a bit more going on there, so it's not just completely plain. So I kind of went away from that idea of having this like kind of very clean look to having this kind of overgrown foliage, some lily pads in there, and some bits and bobs and weeds growing through it. So I did that in as well. And I think after this I jumped back into making the habitat at the beginning. So this was something that I would say that I didn't really, again, have a huge plan in mind what I wanted to do. I looked at some photos and I saw this this viewing platform that got an award in 2019, and for the love of me, I've got so many images on this PC now, I don't know where I saved it or what it was called or anything like that, but I saw it and I thought it looked quite nice. And it was, again, it's a very modern kind of design. Now, you're going to see what I eventually build here in the long run, and again, I know it's not to everyone's taste, and it's very kind of something that I usually do. I really make these kind of weird buildings sometimes, and they may not look super realistic, but I do try my best to make sure that they look usable and that it would be possible if you was going to build something like this. I do at the same time try to make it look, again, very unique, very different as well. Now, as I start to lower the ground here, I kind of I wanted to raise the back as well, you see, and then I wanted to do this kind of like a little hill kind of thing, but with a high wall as well, so you've got some trees there and all that sort of stuff, just so it looks like a bit more dense, a bit more things going on down that walkway, not so it's just plain and empty. And then I wanted to add in a staff path, and then I eventually changed it much later on into the video, but it was just kind of, I think I had this idea that it would come down, it would curl round, it would stay on kind of a second level to the actual level of the habitat, and the staff would walk around and then come down the side of the slope. But eventually I binned that off and I changed that, and I decided to focus on the actual structure itself. The initial plan was to have kind of like 2 levels, so you kind of coming out onto the perch, looking over into the habitat, and then you had like a lower sunken level where you could go down, get a little bit closer to maybe the feeding area as well. And again, I was trying to twisting around with this, kind of thinking, should I keep it very square or kind of more legit looking, like a very normal structure, like a rectangle observing area. But no, I kind of went for this really stupidly weird shape that again, it was kind of a little bit of inspiration from the image that I saw, but it was a lot more smooth and the lines were a lot more, just a lot better than what I was trying to do with this. But I wasn't trying to aim completely to copy it. It was just to use it as a rough idea, and I did like the way it was kind of angled a little bit funny. The more I got into it, the more I built it, the more I realized that, okay, I'm starting to like it now. It's going to have a little bit of quirkiness to it, and you'll see I added a bit more width to it as well on the side. So I did just want these kind of 2 pathways coming out on this wonky walkway. I wanted to make it a little bit more solid and look a little bit more like the structure was doing its job. Now I move it across, I expand the back of it as well, just so the guests have a little bit more walking area. But you will see as well as we get into it, I build this roof, and again it was a bit of another, like a bit of a mind bender for me, and I was trying to figure out the style of the roof that I wanted. And again, it was to be something really different and not just your kind of flat slanted roof. It was to kind of have a dual roof that used each other as support, and then had support beams going through the actual floor itself into the ground at different angles as well, so it doesn't like it's not like you've got 2 beams on one side, 2 on the other that are in the perfectly same position. It's kind of meant to be looking a little bit like one's further back than the other, because maybe there's slightly more weight in that area from the roof, hence the more support that needed in that position. I added in a load of glass around the edges as well, and I added like a glass step over, which again the guests don't seem to venture out. If they get like within 10 foot any walking past the habitats, the guests just seem to think to themselves like, oh, that's all right, that'll do, I'll walk on to the next one. But it's a dead end, so they don't go anywhere anyway. But they don't tend to use the things that you build to their full potential, which is a little bit disappointing. Like you'll see later on in the video as well, they go to the end of the platform on the wooden walkway, which I changed to like a concrete. Again, I know, and you get like the odd 1 or 2 guests there. But what I'd love to see is for the staff to go onto that, like the guests. I like to see the guests go to the end and kind of like all bunch up there, very similar to like what you see in Planet Zoo. You know, when like they'd go into a habitat and you'd have like a walkway, for instance, and they'd all be standing there looking in and like pointing and doing things, and it was really immersive, even with those like funny looking characters in Planet Zoo. The guests in that game were really, really fantastic to watch. I do have high hopes that the guests in this game will be a bit more alive. They are kind of like androids at the moment, and they look terrible. Like you get up close to one, like it's like a nightmare horror movie. Like Jesus, like what is going on? But again, it's like they've got wigs on as well. So it's like, then there's a lot of faces there's like 2 or 3 faces I think they've used, and you go around and they've all got different hairstyles, so they all look like they're related, and they've just got different haircuts and things like that. So I do hope they kind of spruce them up a little bit and make them look a little bit more variant going on with them, if that makes sense. Now moving on to the roof, instead of talking about how the guests look, this is where I didn't mean to do this, so I wanted to resize the roof, and it's really finicky sometimes. So when you resize it and you're not on the kind of a global like the global north, south, east, west kind of grid, things go a little bit doolally. So they kind of crease the kind of size, if that makes sense. You can probably see it a little bit. But then when I did that, I was like, I like that. That looks all right. That I'm gonna keep that and work with that. But it did make it incredibly difficult to kind of maneuver it about, because the pivot point where you want to use these things can be very, very difficult. And but eventually, yeah, I did like the way it came out a little bit, and then I wanted to kind of double up on the roof as well, give it this kind of another depth to it, another layer, give it a bit more going on instead of just 2 flat pieces of concrete on the ceiling. I added in tiny support beams as well on the roof, and I added in the large pillars that you would have saw earlier on the sides as well. Now moving on down into the grass area, this is a part that I wanted to keep very open, very clear, so you've got a fantastic view. It's sort of, again, another thing what I always say that I like to do is get the guests in the habitat, not just to see into it, but get them in there as close as you can, as safely as you can, within reason, obviously, and just to get them, you know, almost like touching distance or enough to see, like, it's like, again, like when you see lions and they have those massive glass windows, or the gorillas when they sit up against the windows, and it breaks my heart deep down, but to be that close to them without obviously touching them it's a very, very unique feeling, and that's what I try to do with these robotic guests as well. Now, on the edges, I kind of added a bit more depth by adding some kind of, they look like wood pieces, but they're not. They're just kind of meant to be a different kind of different texture on the edges. And then I added in some more neon lights, because I kind of got a little theme going on now in the park where neon lights is kind of like, I do, as I said in my last video, I do really like the neon lights and things. It's kind of gives you that kind of retro-y but futuristic vibe. Although that's like the complete opposites, but it gives you that really nice kind of electro kind of feeling. It's really yeah, and the lightings, when you change the lights from being bright white into other colors, I think the lighting works a lot better than using the natural white which is in the game. I would also say that this was like kind of a build as well where I kind of got lost in it a little bit, so it was like there wasn't a huge plan, but it was like the time it took for me to do this, I thought if I'm going to do it, I'm going to kind of add in some guttering, which I didn't put in my last building, but I do it sometimes and sometimes I don't. It's just kind of feeling like, yeah, it just depends on how I'm feeling really. But I added in some this time, and I couldn't work out how to bring it closer to the wall. Then I realised I could have just made it shorter and had it more closer to the wall originally. But yeah, I did it on one side just so all the water and the rain work goes to that one side of the slope on the roof. Now inside as well, I added some more glass, so you kind of gives you a little more of an enclosed feeling. And as we venture into the habitat very soon, again, this kind of went from being just like brushing some trees, put some water in, change the terrain, make some like traffic paths where they've been walking, and I was going to leave it at that, but it ended up being like, started to do minor details in there. I added in some like custom trees, some custom logs going onto a stone, where it was like, then I had some like special lights going on there as well. And I really like this light they got in the game where it's like a pole, and it gives off this just lovely neon light, and you can change it any color you want, and I'll place them around, so at night time, I will show you that later, it looks kind of really funky. But I think again, this is funky to me. To you could look at it and might want to vomit, but again, it's kind of like something that I do kind of tend to stick with and kind of like a little bit. So I'm going to let you enjoy probably about 2 more minutes now, and then there'll be some cinematics, and then we'll go on another little walk around, have a look around what's happened. So yeah, I'll let you enjoy the rest of the video. Have some silence so they listen to my voice, and yeah, I'll catch you very, very soon, guys. Enjoy. Hello and welcome back. My name is Hiysta and I'm going to take you on a tour guide. That's exactly how I would sound if it was my job. So let's go on a little walk. It's a little bit empty today actually. It kind of, at least the guests don't completely disappear every time you boot into your park like they used to. Got a few along here. This, just to let you know as well, this whole area, I have come to the conclusion that I am going to change it. I mean, it is like a communal gardens, like it reminds me of when I used to take my nan out and kind of, you know, go to a local garden and she'd really enjoy it. I'd enjoy it too actually, to be honest. But it was nothing really exciting, but yeah, I'm going to completely bend, that's completely irrelevant, isn't it? I'm going to completely change all this and take all this out and just make this more grand, so when you come through it's like whoosh, like I'm in a dinosaur park, and yeah, kind of going with that. So over here, yeah, again, this was where the staff, I've got to stop saying staff because it is the guests, the all related guests, everyone looks the same, scarily. And yeah, so this area is an area where I'm going to change. Again, it's just keeping the room there ready to create something a bit later on. Here's my really flamboyant pond, I think. Not so flamboyant being a square, but flamboyant in terms of the colour for me. It's very in my face, but apparently I've been suggested to use a bit more colour, so I hope you like it, hope you like the choice. And we have like a yellowy gold giant T-Rex there, which again is the face I pull when my children are constantly pestering me. So as we come down here, we have the entrance for the Acrocanthosaurus. I think I said that right, but I used the doorway here, or the not the doorway, kind of the archway, and just expanded it. And instead of me making two pillars and a roof, it done the job for me instantly, so I was quite pleased with that. And then used just a flat bit in the middle. So if we come through here, you can see it's kind of roughly in the middle. It's not right there. I should kind of say goodbye there or something maybe, or... And I am going to add the end down there as well for guests that come along here. But yeah, got some fire on the top as well. We see some flames. Not unlikely that anyone's going to climb up here and touch the flames, but you never know. You never know. So got some machines here as well. Make a bit more money from the guests. Unusable they are at the moment, but I believe they are. Chip and pin. Yes, insert card. Voila. Anyway, so we're coming along here. Adding in some bins. We see some signs here as well. Got a few little vents. Keeping it again clean. I wanted that clean look inside. Sometimes I add in loads of detail and sometimes I don't, and it's not necessarily because I can't be bothered, it's just sometimes things look very clean, and that's kind of like the style I was going for here. But also I'll show you at night time in a minute as well what it looks like. I think it looks quite funky. But we'll go to the end first before we go down the end. Got some viewing platforms here. Oh look. Oh look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have about 7 dung beetle piles in here, and the dung beetles are not doing their job. But I did notice as well when I placed down the food, they kind of all came over at once because I forgot to place it down. They must have been almost starving, but they all come running over. I was just sitting on the food, brilliant. And yeah, they was all kind of eating the food at once. It was kind of cool to watch. But let's have a look in the habitat before we go down the bottom viewing area. This is where the log is. Hello my friend, how are we doing? And yeah, they can't use this, they can't climb on it, but again, it's just to make it look a little bit more life in there instead of it just being a pond and nothing there. So much poo, unbelievable. Having kids. Over here, this is where they come and sleep. They don't sleep here, they don't tend to use the beds at all whatsoever, they just sleep out outside. All the dinos tend to do that as well. And yeah, kind of had that there. So I think I could make it a little bit bigger personally. I think we could do that. I think we could expand it maybe out here. Have a bit more area, or maybe bring some more along here, flatten this bit here, just bring it out again. I'll save the room there just in case. We've got some space to come around here to expand, which is the plan. And as the path comes over here as well, so we're kind of coming back to where the entrance is, but I'm going to have this coming here, have a small habitat across here, just in this spot, and then have another one here, kind of backing onto this one, and then we're going to work our way round back here, so we come right round here, possibly have another habitat here, and then we'll link up around here as well. But you can see like the size of the map. It's absolutely gigantic, and if you can fill this, I would love to see someone fill this map because it's just phenomenal. You could obviously make the massive habitats and just leave it completely empty and just use what's like in the game already, but yeah, it's just a huge map. You're given so much space to kind of roam around in here. I'll tell you what, actually, it looks like I've got the day and night cycle on actually, so it's going to go into night mode, and you can see already some of the lights have come on. We've got some green lights. Got some retro feeling going on there, and I got I think it's blue down here I used. Yeah, it is blue. Nice little view we can see. Not sure how safe it is with the glass, but we can imagine this is like presidential standards of bulletproof glass, just in case they decide to headbutt it and run straight at it or something like that. So we'll come back up the stairs, and I will apologise, I do have asthma. If I sound like I'm out of breath, it's not because I'm massively unfit, it's just because I'm a bit short of breath at the moment. So yeah, as we come out here, we can come down here. Oh, it's definitely getting to night time, is it? And yeah, we've got the room down here to expand. Come up. I'll show you the little staff area actually. So come along here, go for the door. Very unkept area, looking very like it's just out in the desert somewhere, or just kind of just this random kind of like mini room. Over here we got I changed the toilet into a mini staff room kind of thing, and then we have the bits and bobs to use inside as we go along inside the habitat. So coming here now, you can see the lights coming on. Got some different colours here. We've got a purple, got a blue, got a green, and these green kind of beams that I've got coming round, I think give it that kind of futuristic feeling over here as well. So it does kind of light up all at night. But I'll tell you what, just to speed it up, I'll go into the thingy-majigs, come down here, and we'll just fast forward it just a bit. Like so, maybe about 10 PM. We'll keep it there so it's not too dark for you. And yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like at night. Reflections again from lights like this are not there at all. But you can see you got like shadows off the guests that walk around, but off items and things there's nothing there whatsoever. So I'd expect some shadows coming off in certain areas, like light here, a bit of a shadow there, shadow drops here. Again, you don't really get it, but from the distance, not too bad. Here, like, it really bugs me that there's light here. There's no shadow coming off anything here or there, but again, if you kind of just squint maybe a little bit, it's not too bad, I don't think. But yeah, overall guys, that's the habitat then. Oh, we've got some lights on top as well, so we've got some there. And yeah, I know, again, like I say, I know it's really, really kind of out there in terms of its design and style, and again, I know not many people will like it, but I just wanted to give it a shot, see what it looked like, and just kind of keep that bit of trend going, and trying to keep those colours as well, that almost, you know, those kind of warmish colours that kind of give you that warm Mediterranean climate. So yeah, I hope you like it guys, hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. So I will catch you very, very soon, and also thank you for your suggestions for the part names and the dinosaurs as well. I hope that you're happy with the Acrocanthosaurus in here, and yeah, we'll see where we go next. See you later guys, bye bye.